Iran's foreign minister is threatening to kill Iran's nuclear deal with the West if Congress passes new sanctions. Last month, the U.S. and 5 other world powers agreed to scale back economic sanctions if Iran would agree to cut back its nuclear program. But the U.S. Senate is looking to launch a new sanctions that would take effect in about 6 months if Iran backs out of the deal. The Iranian minister told Time magazine if Congress does that, quote, "the entire deal is dead. We do not like to negotiate under duress." The Obama administration is pressuring the Senate not to pass any sanctions. Just minutes after Iran, the U.S. and other world powers signed the Geneva Accord on November 24th. They disagreed on what the document said. As Chris Mitchell explains, those differences could leave the door open for Iran to get a nuclear bomb.
After Geneva, Israel's former ambassador to the UN, Dori Gold, examined what the U.S. said about the agreement and what the Iranians said. He briefed diplomats and journalists at the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs.
So my team started translating statements made by President Hassan Rouhani, who said, dismantling our nuclear facilities, that's a red line. So there's a huge gap that's coming down the road.
Gold said the gap includes a major difference on sanctions. After the signing, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said the architecture of the sanctions remains in place.
What does Rouhani, the president of Iran, say in Farsi, in Persian language? He says the exact opposite. He says, no, we're going to fracture the architecture of sanctions, using the American term.
Americans and Capitol Hill share Gold's skepticism about the agreement. 62% say Iranian leaders aren't serious about addressing international concerns about their nuclear program. On Capitol Hill, there's bipartisan support for a bill authorizing more sanctions. The White House and Iran object to that legislation, and Iran's foreign minister tells Time magazine that if Congress approves any new sanctions, the Geneva deal is dead. Gold believes the West needs to know what Iran is doing.
Those of us who sit in the Middle East and see what Iran is doing on the ground, but what few people know is that the bloodbath in Syria is being both directed and manned by Iranian soldiers coming from the Quds Force, the overseas units of the Revolutionary Guards. Now, if you want to get a stable relationship between Iran and the West, Iran's got to cut out this behavior.
Gold warned Iran is going the way of another rogue regime.
I'm convinced that they will do what North Korea did, which was to evict the inspectors, to say the world is weak and we can do whatever we want. I know this is politically incorrect, but if you want a safe and secure world, you don't give the most dangerous weapons to the most dangerous regimes.
Given the different interpretations after the Geneva Accord, many experts here believe Iran feels it has a green light to pursue its nuclear program. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.